So I want you to ask yourself and be honest here. When was the last time that you led with empathy instead of efficiency? I'm going to make a prediction that might sound counterintuitive. In 5 years, the leaders who dominate, the ones who build the best teams, retain the best talent, and drive the best results, won't be the smartest people in the room. They won't be the most technical. Heck, they won't even be the ones who have mastered every AI tool first. They'll be the most human. And here's why. Welcome to the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast. I'm your host, John Espinosa. I'm going to use my 20 years of leadership experience in building teams to teach you the mistakes that I made so you won't make the same ones. AI is getting smarter every single day. It can analyze data faster than us. It can write content faster than us. It can process information, spot patterns, and execute tasks at a scale you and I will never match. But here's something AI can't do. No matter how advanced it gets, it cannot look somebody in the eye and make them feel seen. It cannot sense when a team is burning out before the metrics show it. It cannot sit with somebody in a hard moment and say the right thing. Not the efficient thing, the right thing. That's the emotional intelligence. And it just became your greatest competitive advantage because in a world where AI can do almost everything, EQ is that one thing that can't be replicated, automated, or even outsourced. So today I'm going to show you why emotional intelligence matters more than ever before. What happens to leaders when they ignore it, and how to develop the EQ skills that will set you apart in an AI-driven world. So let's get into it. Before I talk about the first topic here, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, do me a favor, find that subscribe button right now, click on it for us. About 40% of listeners out there are subscribed. The other 60%, you're not. So do me a favor, it helps grow this channel, it helps get out as much of this content as I possibly can. Find that AI button, find the share button, find the like button, and leave me a comment. So here's what we're covering today. 3 big ideas that will reframe how you think about leadership in the age of AI. The first one we're going to talk about is this philosophy of the EQ paradox and why more technology demands more humanity. The second topic, what AI exposes. This is the emotional intelligence gap that we can no longer hide. And then the third thing is the edge, the EQ edge, I'm going to call it. And I'm going to teach you how to develop the skills that AI can't replicate. So let's get into the first one here. The EQ paradox, right? We're talking, more technology demands more humanity from us. We've entered into this era of technical sameness, and you may be asking yourself, what the heck does that mean? Everybody has access to the same tools, especially AI tools. When we look at ChatGPT, heck, there's a free version out there. You can upgrade to the $20 version a month, right? Automation platforms. I don't know how many dashboards or automated platforms that we have in the organization right now. And then, one of the things that I really hone in on with the team is automate what makes sense. And we're going to talk about that. But for us now, technology, it's no longer the differentiator. It's basically table stakes. And when everyone can do the work faster, the differentiator becomes how you lead the people doing the work. The more automated work becomes, the more people crave human connection. We've seen this when COVID took and we went to a virtual environment. And in that virtual environment, it took time to transition. But then what happened? We lost the human connection. And you see more organizations, more training go back into an in-person environment. because of that human connection. And here's what employees are reporting. In organizations that I work with, employees report feeling more isolated despite being more connected than ever. Now let's think about that, right? Digital fatigue is real. Zoom calls, those Slack or instant messages, AI-generated everything. People aren't starving for information anymore. They're starving for understanding. And the leader who provides the genuine human connection is going to stand out dramatically. I've seen it with my own two eyes, and I'm sure you have as well. EQ will scale in ways technical skills just can't. So technical skills depreciate as AI advances. EQ appreciates. The half-life of a technical skill is now, I think, roughly 2.5 years from the research that I've seen. EQ skills are going to compound over year after year over an entire career. And leaders, when you invest in EQ, you build teams that are going to outperform regardless of what technology emerges. A little bit of research here. World Economics Forum, Future of Job, reports they list emotional intelligence as one of the top 10 skills needed through the year 2030. And the Talent Smart research shows EQ accounts for 58% of job performance across all industries and is the strongest predictor of leadership effectiveness. Just a quick pause in our episode. This might be exactly what you need to hear. If you're currently leading a team or you want to lead a team and you're spending your days putting out fires, you're not failing, you're just stuck. Because when everything feels urgent, nothing actually improves. And over time, that starts to chip away at our confidence as a leader. I've led teams under pressure for years, and firefighting isn't about effort, it's about those missing leadership systems. When expectations are clear and ownership is real, our teams, they stop reacting and they start solving problems without us. So if you're ready to lead instead of react, click on the link below, book a call, check out our consulting programs. All right, back to the... One time I was consulting a group. There were two separate companies in similar size, similar market, similar access to those AI tools. One was thriving and one was hemorrhaging talent. You want to know the difference? Leadership. The thriving company had a CEO who spent 30% of her time in those one-on-one conversations, real conversations, not status updates. She could read a room. She knew when to push. She knew when to pause. Her team, they would run through walls for her. The struggling company, they had a brilliant CEO. Technically gifted, early AI adopter, obsessed with optimization, but guess what? He couldn't connect. His team respected his intellect, but didn't trust his heart. And one by one, they walked out the door. Same tools, same market, but two completely different outcomes. The variable in both of those situations, it was emotional intelligence. So I want you to ask yourself and be honest here. When was the last time that you led with empathy instead of efficiency? When did you choose connection over speed? If you can't remember, there's your answer. So if EQ matters more now, what happens when we just don't have it? Let's talk about what AI is exposing. The second segment, when this EQ gap that we can no longer hide becomes evident to our teams, that's when we get exposed. When AI removes that busy excuse, right? Leaders who used to hide low EQ behind overflowing calendars or constantly bombarded with urgent tasks, when AI handles more of the tactical work here in all of our work environments, what's left is relational. And some leaders, they get exposed. They say things like, I don't have time for that. No longer works. Because AI, it's given us the time back. We can't, it's a double-edged sword. We can't have both. We can't use AI for efficiency and then blame the fact that we're too busy now to have the relational piece of leadership. I'm going to discuss 4 EQ gaps, and I'm just going to state them first, and then we'll go back and we'll define what they look like and what AI exposes. The first one, self-awareness. The second one, self-regulation. The third one, social awareness. And the fourth one is going to be relationship management. So let's talk about self-awareness first. What does that look like? Leaders don't recognize their own triggers. They have blind spots or impact others. What AI exposes is this AI handling analysis. So leaders must navigate through ambiguity, which requires knowing yourself. Let's talk about self-regulation. What does that look like when you have the gap? It looks like you're reactive. You make decisions emotionally. You have an inability to stay calm under pressure. How AI exposes that is AI accelerates the pace. Leaders who can't regulate, guess what? They get overwhelmed and they begin to make poor decisions. Social awareness as an EQ gap. What does that look like? Well, the inability to read the room. I talked about that leader earlier. They had all the smarts, but they just didn't have the heart. The inability really to sense team morale or pick up the unspoken concerns. So, how does AI expose that? It gives you the data. AI gives us everything that we need, but only EQ tells us what the data doesn't capture. And then the last one here, relationship management. So, poor at giving feedback or navigating conflict, or better yet, inspiring during uncertainty. And we live through a lot of uncertain times right now. So how does AI expose that? Those conversations, we can't put them into AI. There's no prompts for that. And everyone begins to notice who is avoiding those. So, in the end, your team already knows. They already know that you have low EQ. It was always visible. Now it's just undeniable. When EQ handles the what, all that's left is the how. And how you lead is emotional intelligence. The leaders who have thrived on technical competence alone, they're going to begin to struggle. The ones that have EQ, they will begin to rise. Here's some research. A study published in the Journal of Organizational Behavior found that leaders with high emotional intelligence, they had teams with 20% higher performance and 87% lower turnover intentions. That's huge. Numbers don't lie. One of the things, I coached a director last year, and they were very technically flawless. She'd automated half of her workflow, her metrics, they were impeccable. She was one of the earliest AI adopters in her company. But her 360 review, we had her take, it was brutal. I'm not going to lie. We got back words like cold, transactional, hard to approach. And she was shocked. She was genuinely shocked. She thought that efficiency equated to excellence. And what AI had actually done was free up the time that exposed what was missing. When she wasn't buried in the tasks, her team expected that connection. And when she didn't know how to provide it, that's not a technology problem. It becomes an EQ problem. And AI made it possible to ignore. So here's a challenge for you. Ask 3 people you trust. Ask a peer, Ask a direct report and ask someone who's outside of work. That's what a 360, if anyone's ever out there taking a 360 assessment, that's what you do, right? Those are the three audiences that you ask to give you. So those three groups, a peer, direct report, and someone outside of work. I want them to give you honest feedback on your emotional intelligence and specifically ask, how do I make people feel when I interact with them? And then just listen without defending, because feedback here, it's gold. So, all right, we know EQ matters more than we know AI is exposing the gaps. And the question becomes, how do you actually build these skills? So let's get practical. Let's get down into the weeds here. This last segment, we're going to talk about the EQ edge and how we can develop skills that AI can't replace. So this is the gold. This is the where the rubber meets the road. Again, 4 pillars of EQ leadership: self-awareness, self-regulation, social awareness, and relationship management. Sound familiar? So let's define. First, we're going to define, and then we'll go into the tactical piece. So self-awareness is knowing when your emotions, triggers, strengths, and blind spots impact your decision-making or impact your relationships. Why AI can't replace it is because AI has no inner life to examine. It only knows what we give it. Self-regulation as a pillar. Defined, it's managing emotions. It's staying composed. It's responding versus reacting. Why can't AI replace that? AI doesn't feel the pressure. It doesn't feel frustration. The pillar of social awareness. It's reading that room. It's sensing the unspoken dynamics. It's having empathy. AI, guess what? It can't feel what other people feel. And then relationship management, last but not least. Relationship management is about building trust. It's about navigating that conflict and inspiring others. I say relationship management is one of the top 3 characteristics that I look for in leaders within my organizations. And why AI can't replace it is because trust is built through human vulnerability, and it's built over time. So let's dig into each one of these, because it's important for us to be able to walk away. It's important for me, for you to be able to walk away with some tangible things. So get out your notebook, write these down. As I was journaling today, a lot of these things, they really struck a chord with me, because I use AI in all of my organizations. But these pillars are essential to us having that human connection. So let's talk about self-awareness. Self-awareness is the foundation for everything. I consistently work with coaches, with therapists on managing my self-awareness, because you can't manage what you don't recognize. There's a reason why awareness is one of the first, elements of change management. You have to have an awareness that change needs to occur. What's the daily practice here? I want you to end each day by asking yourself, what emotion drove my biggest decision today? Let's talk about feedback loops. Regularly ask others how you're showing up. And then know your triggers before they hijack your leadership. All of those things feed into this foundation that we're going to call self-awareness. Let's talk about self-regulation. Self-regulation, remember, is leading from response, not reaction. So the pause is the skill. We have to create space between the stimulus and the response. So the practice here, the practical skills, before we respond to anything stressful, take at least one breath and then ask, what does this situation actually need? And then model calm under pressure, because our teams, they will do as we do. They regulate off of our energy. And if we become reactive to a situation, they're going to model that. the next time that the tension goes up or the challenge, it gets, pretty deep. Let's talk about social awareness. So social awareness is seeing the data, seeing what the data doesn't show us. The data doesn't allow us to see. I want us to train ourselves to notice body language, tone shifts, energy changes. Anytime you have a conversation, look at people in the eye. Don't, remove all of the barriers out of the way. Get out from behind your computer screen where it's just you and that other individual. In every meeting, ask what's not being said right now. What's not being said is way more important than the words that are actually being talked. And then our practical perspective here, before reacting to someone, ask a question. What might be driving this behavior? That prevents us, again, from having that social awareness, or it prevents us from being reactive and allows us to have the social awareness for us really to say, okay, is there something underlying here that I'm not seeing? Relationship management. So this is the EQ skill that drives results. And, this gives us feedback. The feedback here, it's direct and it's compassionate. It's truth with care. I want us to navigate conflict by really going out and seeking understanding before resolution. And then we need to recognize people in ways that AI never could. Be specific, be personal, and be timely when you recognize your team members. So what's the development plan? Because the skill here, we went through all 4 of them. Self-awareness. What's the daily practice? I want you to journal one emotional trigger in your response. Weekly practice, ask one person for that technical feedback on how you showed up today. Self-regulation, a daily practice I want you to implement is practice the pause before 3 high-stake responses. Weekly, I want you to review one moment that you reacted versus responded and then plan differently for the next time. When we talk about social awareness, our daily practice, each meeting, note one unspoken dynamic. And then weekly, I want you to have one conversation, focus solely on understanding and not solving. And then relationship management, give one specific piece of recognition. Have one difficult conversation a week that you've been avoiding. Deal? That's a really, really good plan. The research here from Daniel Goleman's studies, it found that EQ can have, or it can be developed, I should say, at any age through intentional practice. And so that's why it's important to practice those 4 skills weekly and daily. And you will see measurable improvement as little as 12 weeks. That's what the research tells us. So it's not like, you're seeing anything a year out. You can see instantaneous improvements within as little as 12 weeks. Are you willing to take the chance? That's a 90-day focus. I'm a big 90 days, so anytime I can find research around 90 days, I'm going to give it to you. So the practical application here, pick one pillar, just one, and then commit to the daily and weekly practice for the next 30 days. Self-awareness, if you're not sure where to start, it's the foundation for everything else. So let's start there. Track your progress and then notice what shifts, what's changing. EQ, it isn't magic, but it takes practice. So I gave you a lot. I'm telling you what, these EQ episodes or these AI with this specific EQ episode is this stuff is money and it's the future of leadership. So I hope that you found a lot of value in it. Again, let's bring this home. So what did we cover today? First, we entered the EQ paradox. So the more technology advances, the more human leadership matters. And when everyone has AI, it levels the playing field. So our competitive advantage is how we make people feel. The second thing we talked about is how AI is exposing those EQ gaps that leaders could hide before. And your team, guess what? They already know it. So the question is whether you're willing to see it too. And then third, we talked about that EQ is a skill. It's not a trait. It's like leadership. Leadership, we have to practice. There is no such thing as a natural born leader. But EQ, it can be developed. Self-awareness, self-regulation, social awareness, that relationship management, they're not soft skills. They're survival skills for us as leaders in the AI age. So here's what I want you to carry with you. In a world where AI can do almost anything, the leaders who win will be the ones who stay relentlessly, irreplaceably human. Emotional intelligence, it isn't a nice to have anymore. It's going to give us the edge that can't be automated. It's going to give us the advantage that can't be copied and the investment that pays dividends no matter what technology emerges next. AI can process faster than us, but it will never lead better than us. If you develop the skills, I'm telling you, these skills will make leadership human. So do me a favor. If this episode, if it resonated with you, here's what I want you to do. 1, share it. Share it with a leader who you think needs to hear this. Not because they're bad, but because they're good and they could be great. 2, subscribe. Hit that notification bell. The next episode, we're going to go even deeper into leading teams through AI, anxiety, and uncertainty. So you're not going to want to miss that. And then 3, drop a comment. Tell me which EQ pillar did you need to develop the most? Is it self-awareness? Is it self-regulation? Is it that social awareness piece? Or is it relationship management? And be honest. That honesty is already self-awareness in action. Until next time, I believe in you. Go be great. Talk to you on the next episode. Bye-bye.